Hey, this is George.
Hey, this is Fred.
Real Talk with George and Frazier. What's going on, brother? How are you?
What's going on, brother? Hey, I'm
Uh-oh.
excited.
You
I'm
doing a
excited.
Milwaukee game?
Oh, you already know. Hey, they earned my respect, George. They earned my respect. They they epitomize what I think what a true champion is, George. You got banged up, you got beat up, you got counted out, and you showed out. That's all it is. Hey, you can't get no better than that. You can't get no better than that anywhere else, George.
Look, it was definitely a great series. I knew it was Milwaukee's series to lose. I told you the key games were going to be game 3 and game 4.
George.
And when Giannis basically showed up,
Mm-hmm.
it was nice to watch. And the reason why I say it was nice to watch is because really this series was Phoenix's series lose, and they
Yeah.
lost. They
They
lost
didn't want
in
it. They didn't want it.
spectacular fashion. So
Hey,
definitely all
George.
good. And not,
But I'm gonna say one more thing we go. One more thing to George. All I'm gonna say is Michael Jordan, Portland Trailblazers, had the flu, fever and all, put up 50-some points. Giannis, banged up, bad knee and all, put up 50 points, rebounds, and assist. Exact same replica of a champion. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm leaving on a note there.
I'm gonna leave it at that. Because we definitely got a good interview today.
Yeah.
Mr. Bharat, I'm mispronouncing
Don't do
his
it to
last
it.
name.
Don't do it to it. Don't do it
Yeah,
to it.
you know I always do it, Phrase.
Don't
Let's just
do it.
bring him on the show. Bharat, welcome to Real Talk. How are you, sir?
Gentlemen, how are you?
How are you
I'm doing
doing, my
pretty
brother?
good. I apologize. Every time Frazier and I try to say people's names, man, we butcher them. Just let the fans and listeners tell you your name and what you do.
Bharat Kanodia. I am a valuation geek.
Valuation geek. Nice. And what type of valuations do you do?
I have been fortunate or unfortunate to have been able to do all kinds of valuations in my career, including some of the very unique or interesting assets like the Golden Gate Bridge or the Brooklyn Bridge or Atlanta Airport or Uber, Airbnb, and many others.
Nice.
So just tell the fans and the listeners really quick about what valuations are. Because as business people, Frazier and I know it, but for just the layman listening to our show, let's get the technical term for it from the experts.
Oh, you don't want me to get all technical on you. You're going to fall asleep on me.
All right, keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
So valuation is just an opinion of value. So, most people think of valuations if somebody's looking to buy or sell an asset, right? If somebody's looking to buy a company or sell a company. But valuations can be done for many purposes, right? Valuations could be done for accounting. They could be done for taxes. They could be done for M&A, mergers and acquisitions, or some kind of a transaction or a deal. Or you need valuations for insurance so that the insurance companies know what your assets are worth so that they can underwrite it properly and charge you enough premium.
Right.
Gotcha.
So basically what you do is what Donald Trump got in trouble for. Lowered his assets when he didn't want to pay taxes and increased his assets when he wanted a loan.
People in real estate do this all the time because leverage in real estate is all based on valuation. So if something is worth $50, you might be able to get a loan of, say, up to $40 on it. But if you show that, no, this asset is not worth $50, this asset is worth $100, then you can get a loan of up to $80 on it.
Exactly.
Right. And cover the 50 that you need.
Exactly. And have a little extra on the side. to cover. And true, Donald Trump just had one building he's been leveraging for how many decades now? He leveraged that building. He never broke because he got that one building. It saves him every time. He's the only man walking the bank and say, I need $27 million. What you got? What's your asset? This building is grand. Oh, that building? Here you go, sir. Sign here, sign there.
Phrase.
Sign
I'm
there
not
too.
sure if you've been watching the news, Phrase. That don't work anymore. They caught him and his money man. So it's definitely all good. But anyway, can you tell the listeners about what what your worth is TV that you have? Is that
Yeah,
am I saying it right?
I have a YouTube channel called What's It Worth?
What's it worth?
And it is about educating business owners on valuations. So nowadays, whenever we hear in the news, we always hear about, oh, so and so company raised $10 million at $100 million valuation from George and Fraser. Well, they don't talk about the revenue of the company. They don't talk about the product of the company, and they don't talk about who the CEO or the founder is. All they talk about is how much money they raised, at what valuation, and from whom, which really doesn't tell you much about the company.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But imagine, I know you're doing business plans, right? And then the new modern day version of business plans is they ask for evaluation or projection of the company. Like if somebody just starting out and they're trying to build that equity, that everything going together, like what key points they need to look for when they're making that business plan in order to present to the bank through the evaluation, how it help with the analogies, the operation costs, the expenses, all that stuff. To show how that helps them build that.
Great question, Fraser. And I can list out 50 things, but that's not going to help people. So I boil it down to two things. One is bankers or investors or Wall Street or buyers, whatever you want. They first thing are looking for consistency in cash flow. Now you can call it revenue or profit or what have you. They're looking for consistency in cash flow. The money should keep coming in monthly or yearly, no matter what. Second thing they look for is they don't want to do anything to enjoy that cash flow. They want to sit on their butt and eat bonbons while money keeps flowing to them. So buyers are looking for two things. One, they want consistency in cash flow. And two, the business should almost run on autopilot. Now, there are two ways a business could run on autopilot. One is you hire 15 layers of management so that there are people who are professionally running the company so it can run on autopilot. But that only works with larger companies because there you can have 15 layers of management. For small businesses, you can't afford that many people. So there, the autopilot piece comes in if you're introducing automated processes and systems so that the business can run on autopilot.
Gotcha.
So when you say automated system and processes, Fraser and I always like to talk to the small to mid-sized companies. Those are many of the type of people that listen to our show. And, being from real estate, sometimes it's a one-person business, sometimes it's a team business, and we deal in some of those same things. But in order to scale your business, you need some of those processes in place. So let's just talk about real estate because that's what Fraser and I like to talk about. How would you automate some of those things? Let's just say simply, I personally have been in the fix and flip business and I'm moving into more development kind of things for assisted living type facilities here in Philadelphia is a project that I'm looking at, and a few other projects. But let's just talk about development. A lot of developers, what we've seen probably since early 2000s was developers got in trouble because they were buying and they were developing, but they had these huge loans with banks. Like, for instance, develop a complex of 50 houses. Each house is worth about, on paper, maybe 450,000. You know what I mean? So the volume grows. But now that they have the access to that capital, they now have to go find the people that buys each lot and builds that house, which takes time. When the housing market crashed, obviously everything contracted and developers lost their shirts. So I'm saying that to say, just from a real estate standpoint, how do we automate some of that, okay, if we want to go into that? Or how do we be more presentable to investors, if we want to move into that particular industry, either as one guy or as a team?
Great question, George. And automation works very well for real estate as well, or even for development. So a real estate developer can be looking into marketing their inventory using online marketing tools, which are fairly automated. They could be introducing project management softwares and other automated tools, which can help them manage the process of development of that subdivision.
Right.
They could be looking at different maintenance tools that they can leverage to ensure that the people who purchase their houses are happy, because if things start breaking down in the first 3 months or 6 months and the new owners aren't happy, well, the word's going to get around really, really fast.
Right.
So if they're building, say, 50 houses and 20 of them are sold, they need to make sure those 20 people are very happy, because if they're not happy, the other 30 aren't getting sold.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's true. So I'm going back on more on the smaller business side, because they most need more to help with. Now, I know some small businesses depend on demographics, the area we're in, depending on what area they're selling, what part they're selling, what their target markets are. Like, how can analysis help that small business be able to automate that based on the area they're in, the part that they're selling, and who they're actually targeting?
See, one thing I want to point out, Fraser, here, that no business can run 100% on autopilot, right? Even a jet plane, right? A pilot can hit that autopilot button, but the captain and the first officers still have to sit in the cockpit. They can have their cup of coffee or they can have their lunch, but they still got to keep an eye out.
Exactly.
So even if the autopilot button is still on, it's not 100% on autopilot. 100% on autopilot means like, okay, you can just walk away, flirt with the stewardess, have a drink, come back. No, it don't work like that. So for a small business, first thing, let's accept that any business can never run on autopilot, right? And this is one of the biggest pill for people to swallow, because people are like, oh, my business can never run on autopilot. Well, I get it. It cannot run 100% on autopilot. That's why it's a business. But how much can run on autopilot? 10%, 20%? What can you automate? Can you automate receivables? Can you automate payables? Can you automate customer feedback? Can you automate your project management? Can you automate your employee orientation? Can you automate your healthcare? So as Mark Twain said, the secret of getting ahead is getting started.
Right.
Where people stop is saying, oh, my business can't. Well, don't say that your business can't be automated. Every business can be automated to a certain extent. Never 100%, but start somewhere. Start with the simplest things. Starts with the things that are most repetitive, like reaching out to customers for feedback, accounts payables, accounts receivables. Start with these simpler things and see where you get.
True.
Right. Let me follow up with that on that question with Fraser. Go ahead, Fraser.
No, for the question. He got my question down pat.
All right. Oh, I appreciate it, Fraser. No, but I'm saying, the thing is, it's overwhelming for small businesses, because most small businesses don't understand that they have finite time to get in the business and make an impact. Most small businesses, fail within 3 to 5 years, and one of the things, being small business owners, Fraser and myself, started businesses. Some businesses have failed, but the two main reasons why that has happened: one is capital, okay? And what I mean by capital, not putting enough capital in the business. What I learned in my business in the very beginning wasn't that I had great ideals or great business ideals or projects. It was the fact that when they looked at my line item budgets, they were like, okay, everything looks great but salary. Where's your salary? Well, I'm the owner. I'm going to be the one running this. I'm going to be the one making sure everything is in place. And, I want to make sure that every dollar that I'm lending gets paid back. So they still go, okay, well, where's your salary for that? Well, I don't want to have to borrow too much money to pay it back. So, and they go, hold on, that'll never happen. You want to know why? Because we'll pay you $100,000 to make sure the business runs smoothly, but you putting $25,000 in for your salary for the year, it's not going to work. And I learned this very, how do I say this? Very shockingly, because they were like, look, The worst thing that can happen is we give you this $200,000 to start this business, and then the $25,000 that you have for salary isn't enough. Now you got to go work a part-time job to keep your living going while you got my 200,000 stuck in this business. You see what I mean? That you're trying to run. So can you just help the listeners understand the importance of capital and starting up, just a startup, when it comes to the business in itself? And how do you measure those valuations? Like, for instance, I made the mistake of, it was $200,000, so I'll take 10% for myself in a salary, 25%, 2.5%, whatever it is, 25,000. You see what I mean? So that's how we would run the business with the startup and so forth and so on. What mistake did I make? Did I make a mistake by saying maybe my salary should have been 30% of the loan amount? You see what I'm going with the question? How do you put those numbers into the beginning for small business owners who don't know this particular part of it? Because this is the fine minutiae as to whether you get funded or you don't get funded in many cases.
Great point. And I have made this mistake myself. Great companies always have access to capital. Now, access to capital does not necessarily mean they put all that capital up front. Most business owners, they say, okay, I've got $50,000, I've got $200,000 or $2 million, and I'm going to put it in this business. Well, that's great. But a business is going to need more capital eventually to grow. If you want to grow that business, it's going to need more capital. Now, that capital could come from the business, from the operations, or it has to come from outside.
Right.
So all business owners need to be prepared for putting in additional capital after the initial investment. And this is the number one reason, as you said, why businesses fail, because the number one reason why entrepreneurs fail is not because of the business plan, not because they're not working hard, not because they don't have customers, because they just simply run out of money.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Absolutely.
That's true. But I learned too. When I first doing my first business plan, when I had to go to somebody to teach it to me, the first thing you kept always saying is operating. That's the number one thing you need to worry about. Your operating costs, operating expenses. You building, you get this building, you buy equipment. And another thing people don't also look into also too, they starting to evaluate also is taxes. Like, how do you manage your taxes for your company? Now, how do you, same with George say, your expenses for employees. How do you manage your equipment tax? Because we the write-off. All these things will save company money. So and they ask you the same question. Have you been up on your taxes? Do you have an accountant? Some business for business, one mistake I made was trying to be my own accountant. I my own account and find out that I missed out on a lot of tax write-offs that I could have saved my company. That probably would have kept me in the black, not put me in the red all the time. But I didn't know that. Like, by evaluating that, also help you evaluate a company when tax time comes, evaluate equipment stuff. So explain to some of the small business owners how important evaluations are, especially when it comes down to evaluating your expenses and taxes and write-offs. Also,
yes, absolutely.
Very good point, Fraser. My father always taught me that all the professionals that you hire for your business, could be attorney, could be accountant, and many insurance, other people that you hire as professional advisors for your business, you want to have top-notch, and you want to pay their top-notch fees because they can save your ass. As you said, you do not have a good accountant. Now, I have an expensive accountant, and my accountant is probably more than what I need, but it's an insurance policy for me. Look, this guy is going to help me save money. So yeah, he's a little expensive, but I know he also helps me save money. So if he helps me save $100 and he charges me $20, I'm still making $80.
Exactly. Right.
Small business owners think, oh, I saved $100 and he took 20. I should be paying him 12. Right. And this is when the accountants also go, come on, man, what the heck? I mean, think of the government and think of the professionals that you're working with as your partners. Once you accept that as a business owner, you're going to be far happier.
Yep.
And they will help you grow. They will show you all the things you can get away with. And you don't have to break the law. You hire people who show you how to finesse the law legally.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I definitely can relate to Fraser. That's why I was laughing when he said he became his own accountant, because I only did that once. And the first year I did it in real estate with my little portfolio that I had, I ended up owing. When I hired somebody, I got money back. The second year I did it. And I was like, well, what was the problem? He was like, oh, you didn't know you had access to deduct this, to deduct this, to deduct this, to deduct this, boom, boom. And you got this credit, that credit. And I was like, all of that? So after that, it was worth the money for me to spend, because he was the expert in that. And I am an expert on this, that, and the third. I didn't have to be the jack of all trades. Let's continue to talk about evaluations, because where a lot of listeners, and sometimes even myself, we get messed up on is valuations for more seed money. Like you said, a lot of businesses, the reason why they fail is because they just don't have enough money to continue to grow. Sometimes, I understand first round funding is family and friends. We get the business going. We have income coming into the business. Sometimes second round funding can be angel investors. Like, for instance, we had a $25,000 business a year. Now it's grown to $100,000. We're not going the business to be $1 million business, but we need more income to come in, right? To make it $1 million business down the road. So just from your expertise, how would you suggest or say, okay, you guys have a $100,000 business. Where can we get that valuation so you can get that money to make $1 million business, and at what cost? Because I know where a lot of business owners lose their businesses, they don't have a proper business plan, so to speak. They don't have a proper understanding, and they don't have a proper exit strategy for the entire business. You see what I mean? So an angel investor now will come in and own 40% of their business. You see what I mean? For maybe minuscule amounts of money, but they know that you need that money to get you to where you want to go. So you do it. And then the next round comes in, you see what I mean? And you're getting more money because now you want to be a $10 million business, but the angel investor still owns his 40%. So you're the one that's saying, okay, now you got to give up, the balance 60 that you own if you want to get to that $10 million business. So on average, a lot of business owners don't. I'm saying that to say in a long-winded way, a lot of businesses don't understand to get to that growth potential. You sometimes only own 8% of your business when it's all said and done. But if you planned properly, if it's a $100 million business, is that still okay for you? You see what I mean? Or are you mad that you gave up 92% of your business to make that $100 million? So that's the balance that we go through, at least in the business process. How can we kind of hedge our bets a little bit to get better valuations where we don't have to give up so much of our company, to some investors or angel investors or venture capitalists?
See, this is a mistake most entrepreneurs make. I mean, there's this movie, War Dog. Have you seen it? These guys get a defense contract. And in that one movie, there's a scene where this guy figures out that he's making $50 million and his supplier is making $100 million. And that's his first big deal. And he gets angry and he screws up the entire deal, all the relationship, because he gets angry that why is my supplier making $100 million and I'm making $50 million? Well, shut the fuck up. You're making $50 million and this is your first big deal. Chill out. Enjoy the $50 million. So do you want to have 100% of nothing?
Right.
Or do you want to have a 10% of $1 billion?
Right.
And that's really the question, because investing or running a company is a team effort. You can't do it alone. You just can't. If you think you can, you're not fit for entrepreneurship. Jeff Bezos, his name is just Jeff Bezos. He doesn't run the company alone. There are at least 50 people who are running the real company who you never hear about. He's just a figurehead.
Right.
So leading a company is really a team sport. And if you're not a team player, this is not for you. So you just have to accept that I am not going to own 100% of my company, but do I want to own 100% of $10 or 10% of $80 million.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's true. That's true. Let's give another example look at Facebook. Starting a basement in a man's house. Very small business. One guy together with idea and putting it in play. He know nothing about business when he want to go public. We even got a team of people to advise him on what the advantages of going public and the disadvantages of going public. I'm gonna be going from a small company now moving towards a bigger scale where he have to actually answer to people now. He can answer to a board now. He got to answer to people who want to know what he's doing in the last 10 years, what his projection is, what he plan on doing with the company. So on that, how can you help other people, small business, who had the idea of saying through your evaluations to becoming a scaling business up from a small backyard business, now moving to the big times. Come on, he did it pretty quickly. Some people, it's coming now. I think Google did it, Yahoo did it. Started small places like other company entrepreneurs come out more ideas as that. Look at TikTok. It's not big, not there yet, but it could get there eventually. To be aware, they want investors come in and invest or whatever. What advice can you give to those through the evaluation to help them make that decision to go big or stay small?
It really depends on who you are. Go big or be small, right? What do you want? I mean, are you a team player? If you're not, that's okay. Not everybody is. Not being a team player is not a bad thing. In this society, we think it's a bad thing. No. To each their own. You're not a team player. It's not a big deal. Run your business and accept that, look, I'm not a team player. Then that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Even actors who you might think who are arrogant and cocky assholes, they sometimes are not team players, but they need a team around them. They need agents and lawyers and managers to manage them. And so if you want to grow big, you need to be a team player. So if you want to run a unicycle, well, you can run it on one wheel. But you want to run a tractor loader, you need multiple wheels and a belt on top of that to run those wheels. So, yeah, I mean, you want to be a single operator? Great. Just accept it. You're a unicycle guy, which is great. You can be an awesome unicycle guy. You could be made of gold. But, you want to run a backhoe. Well, a backhoe is going to need a lot more wheels and a lot more infrastructure, a lot more steel, which is going to take a team effort to build.
Right.
Exactly.
I want to stay on that tech for this is one of our last questions for you, because a lot of investors and business people, entrepreneurs, look at tech as really just don't understand it. I don't know if you have any experience in evaluating tech companies, but, it just seems like they just show up one day and they're worth $100 million.
Yep.
You see what I mean? And, you don't get in until they're right there at the $100 million, or you don't hear from them, And the question is, how can a $25 million company, quote unquote, or $10 million company, all of a sudden just be worth $100 million when it's in tech? Is that just smoke and mirrors? Is that just potential of what the technology can bring to society or what it does? Because that's really confusing for a lot of people. And then when, if it's pre-IPO or IPO or the stock goes down, and buying stock in this new quote unquote tech company that has the potential to do X, Y, and Z. I mean, it all sounds great, but what really are the nuts and bolts? And what would you think the process is for that type of valuation?
Great question. So anything is worth a lot of money if it has three things: growth, profit, and low risk, right? So tech companies are usually valued so crazily because investors are anticipating significant growth. Some companies are valued very heavily, like Visa, because they are very profitable and they're expecting significant growth. Some companies are valued even higher than that because they're very profitable, they're expecting significant growth, and they're not very risky, like Berkshire Hathaway. So
Right.
if you follow these three metrics, growth, profit, and risk, and understand those metrics behind the company, you will never go wrong. So whenever you're evaluating a business, and this is homogenous, right? It doesn't matter to the size or what have you. Kind of like a think of me as a vet, right? I mean, a dog, a horse, a frog, a giraffe, a lion, it's all the same, right? They all have digestive systems, they all have nervous systems, they all have skin, they all have different things. Yeah, they might be a little different depending on the animal, but growth, profit, and risk really are the three parameters that are used to value anything. So if you're evaluating any opportunity, could be real estate, could be a small business, could be a public company, follow these three metrics. What's my anticipated growth? How profitable is the company, and can they continue on this profitability? And third, how risky is this investment?
Right. Absolutely.
So
Listen.
I got one more question for you. Got one question for you, George. This is good. I got one. This is good. So I know some people who like to call, and the new thing I heard they call business buying and investing, like you said a few minutes ago. Let's touch on that right there. I met a guy one time in a barber shop. His profession is to buy companies. He buy companies that either high risk or the company owes a lot of money and some of that, and he comes as a saver, but he really buying a company at a low. Like, say, if you were some person, what advice would you give that person who wants to do something similar to that? Is it good to buy in when a company is high and the profit margin is still there, but they just mismanaged? They're terribly managed. They make profit, but they don't see anything. They have the customers, but can't prove the value and the demographic of how they actually hitting their target markets.
Right.
Like, would you invest in that particular company, or would you go back to the three things you just said for me? Go low risk, probability, and that. Would you go through that risk on that, or you take a chance on that company who has a high potential value already, but it's mismanaged?
So in those cases, right, the company already is growing, the company has a profit. So there the equation comes out to it's a risky investment because it doesn't have good levels of management, or it's highly leveraged. So that's a risky investment. And if the risk goes up, the valuation goes down. So
Right.
they're really looking to buy a company for pennies on the dollar because they're buying a heavy risk investment. And in addition, they might need to put an additional capital to make sure that this investment comes out ahead. So yeah, they're just making this investment as seed capital, but they know going in that they're going to have to invest more money to make sure this investment pays out eventually over time.
Right.
All right, nice.
Last question that I have really for you is, when it comes to your valuations for companies, you might have answered this question before, but I'm just going to ask it again just in case I didn't hear it correctly. What tips can you give small business owners when it comes to setting valuations for their companies?
It's not rocket science, George. As I said before, as a buyer of a company or as an appraiser of companies, I'd be looking for two things. First thing, I'd be looking for your business model. That, okay, what is your business model? Do you get customers here and there, ad hoc? Or are your customers paying your bills on a monthly or quarterly or a yearly basis?
Right.
And second, do you have to work 80 hours a week to manage that company? If you're working 80 hours a week, you're not doing a pretty good job.
Right.
I mean, hard work is not necessarily always the best thing. Because if a buyer comes in and they have to work 80 hours a week, they're not buying a business, they're buying a job.
Right.
Nobody pays money to buy a job. So I'd be looking for two things. Does the business have consistent cash flow? And consistent cash flow as in, are the same customers paying the company money every month, every week, every year? And second, is the business capable of running on autopilot? Now, as I said, you can't be 100% on autopilot, but how much of the business is running on autopilot?
Exactly.
Right.
Nice.
Absolutely.
See, George, got you. That's an appraisal question. Like, Yeah, okay.
No, I'm listening, Frazier. I'm listening. I'm absorbing all the knowledge. He's dropping pearls. You know what I mean? And I definitely appreciate that. Can you let other fans know where they can find you on social media?
The best way to reach out to me, George, is look up my YouTube channel called What's It Worth. And we push out videos every 2 weeks. And my videos, I had an option to do a podcast as well, but I am a visual learner, so I want to dispense my knowledge in visual. So that's why I went the YouTube route. And my videos are tight. My videos are small. They're between 5 and 8 minutes. So if you want to know about any industry, you want to know about e-commerce or SaaS or auto repair shop or a auto dealership or a CPA practice, I have videos that explain you how that business works, and most importantly, how valuations in that business work. And my videos are concise. They're full of information. There's no, I'm not rambling. I'm not talking too much. And we try to keep it entertaining. I mean, I'm no Dolly Parton, but I do the best I can.
You definitely have Dolly Parton.
Oh, I definitely. Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming on the show and dispensing this knowledge to our guests and to us, me and Frage, especially on a Thursday afternoon. We definitely appreciate you taking the time out and talking to us.
Thank you for having me, George. Thank you.
My famous speech I always give everybody one for people is, welcome to the George and Frazier family, brother. We're family.
Definitely appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Cheers.
Oh, man.
Good show. A lot of knowledge.
I like that one. You say no Dolly Parton. I like that one.
He's telling himself a Dolly Parton, brother. It's definitely all good. Definitely all good. But good knowledge. Sometimes it's good to get that reaffirmation of the knowledge that you need for certain things, because you can easily forget it. And I like the fact that, we have guests on the show that re-say some of the things that we say, so it comes from a more. So when you hear it and hear it, it's not just George and Frazier talking about it. They have an expert on business valuations talking about it. Exactly. You know what I mean? So you kind of stick to it more, and it kind of gets into your spirit, to your atmosphere, to your ecosystem, your business planning, everything that you do, you put in place around that. So it's definitely all good. Well, listen, brother, that's
how I found out about valuations, because when I was going to last year business school, they threw that on us. You have to throw it valuation. What the valuation? They ain't talking about 4 years ago. You ain't talking about valuations. What the heck talking about? This is what you gotta do a business plan. This is a new version of a business plan. If you don't have this projections on this year, how operating costs this year, what's your prospect 10 years from now? I'm like, I just started a company, man. It ain't been around that long yet. You ain't take pick an established company. I'm gonna break it down. Then he says, then I found out Nike, that's why they post their stuff online. If you ever notice, the Yahoo and Nike, all of them post their quarterly pay every year, every inventory, operating cost. And Nike, if I keep bringing Nike one of the few people that doesn't have operating costs because they don't have a warehouse. They don't have any inventory. Every time they have, they managed to make a system where when they sell 100,000 units, 100,000 units gone. They sell 1 million units, 1 million units is gone. There's no hole in inventory, nothing like that holding. So in that aspect, saying there, that's putting them autopilot. It's putting them autopilot if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, they're basing all their projections on orders. Okay, and so they only fill those orders that they get. So if it's 1 million orders, they actually have 1 million orders to fill. So they go right from the factory they don't have to store anything. Factory to distribution to client. So it's definitely all good. Well, listen. Go ahead.
Oh no, we're fingers though. I mean, a good show. I mean, we had a good show. You know, a finger, you do the.
Oh yeah, man, definitely. I was about to say, definitely appreciate Bharat coming on and dropping this knowledge, man. And y'all check out our shows. We got some other exciting shows coming up.
Oh, we got Peter Morgan, Anthony White come on tomorrow.
Okay, absolutely. So y'all check that show out. Hey, this is George.
Hey, this is Frazier.
And that was Real Talk with George and Frazier. Peace. See you tomorrow.
Peace.